Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a little video comparison about my two cerclage experiences. I have incompetent cervix. I was diagnosed with incompetent cervix with my first son, my first pregnancy, my son Bryce. And then I also was just recently blessed with a second little guy, Jace. And in Bryce's situation, we were in an emergency cerclage placement situation, and with Jace we got a preventative cerclage situation. So I wanted to kind of explain the difference between the two pregnancies and cerclage experiences and how they went. And I tried to I wanted to make it as easy to follow along for you guys. So I didn't know if I should explain Bryce's fully, Jace's fully, and then you can kind of see how they went differently. But or if I should bounce back between the two. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain one situation and then explain the other, and then you guys can ask me any questions down below in the comments. I know a ton of you follow me on here for incompetent cervix, and you're asking me questions and sharing your stories, and I love connecting with you guys. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, because that's where I hang out majority of the time. And yeah, so let's get started. So let me first talk about my first pregnancy, which was my emergency cerclage situation. I did not know I had incompetent cervix until I was diagnosed at 21 weeks. So how it went down was I found out I was pregnant. I was very normal in my pregnancy with activity and everything like that. At our 20-week ultrasound, my doctor talked to me about having a short cervix. And I didn't really take her seriously. I didn't really know what that meant, but I was just excited to know the gender of my baby. So I did not even take her seriously. Then she wanted to do another check at 21 weeks, and in my head I was just like, oh, I get to see my baby again in a week? Cool. At 21 weeks I went to my appointment, and my cervix was at a 0.3 and 1 centimeter dilated. That was when she explained to me incompetent cervix, told me that a hospital 4 hours away was expecting me to do an emergency cerclage, and that I should get on the road as soon as possible. I was very scared. I was crying. We got there at night, and my surgery wasn't until morning, so I was just super stressed out, crying. It was just my husband and I. I was in a hospital that I was not familiar with. I did not know the doctors, and I was just so scared. And I do think that this experience did give me PTSD. I was afraid I was gonna lose my son. She told me not to Google it, so I didn't. I just was scared in a hospital bed with very minimal knowledge of what was happening. We got the cerclage placed by an amazing doctor, Dr. Matt. He's with the Abbott Alina team in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota. I love him. I praise the Lord for that man every single day of my life. We got the cerclage placed. He had to insert a balloon, like a balloon, not a balloon, to push the water bag back up, place the cerclage, and take that out. And that was very risky. It could have broken my water. It was a really risky procedure. He got my cervix back to a 1.3, I believe, and I started 14 weeks of bed rest / modified bed rest towards the end. So in the first 30, until I got to week 30, I really was on bed rest. I thankfully work from home, so I was still working and able to work from my computer and rest as much as I needed to. But I was very anxious during this time. I was very sad during this time. I was very worried during this time. So it wasn't I get to Netflix all day. There was a lot of stress and a lot of personal stuff going on at this time. I got to 35 weeks and my cerclage was hurting. I felt a lot of pressure. His head was pushing right on that cerclage, so we removed the cerclage at 35 weeks. The 35-week cerclage removal with my first was very different because we could not get it out in the clinic. There was too much pressure, too much pain, so I did get a spinal and got the cerclage removed via a surgery. Once the cerclage was removed, I was 2 centimeters dilated, 80% effaced, and then I held him in for 2 weeks after that cerclage removal and gave birth to him exactly 37 weeks. I will link down below our labor and delivery story for Bryce. And I woke up with back labor. So that's how I knew I needed to go in, was I woke up to back pain. That was the craziest pain of my life. And I knew I needed to go in. So we went in, back labor, and I was dilated to like between a 6 and a 7, got the epidural, and it all happened so quickly. So that is my experience with my emergency situation. And I know I went through it really, really fast, and it seemed like it was smooth sailing and stress-free, but it was stressful. It was heartbreaking. It was the scariest thing I've ever gone through and experienced. And in October of 2017, I made a video for this channel talking about how Bryce was probably going to be an only child because of this experience. The next month, I get pregnant. So as I was filming that video, God was laughing at me because I found out I was pregnant in November of 2017, and my preventative cerclage and pregnancy went completely different. So I want to give you guys hope. I hope that my story of Bryce and Jace and us with incompetent cervix gives you hope, gives you so much hope, because my second pregnancy went completely different. Found out I was pregnant, and you know, it really was just kind of wait and see how things go in the first trimester, because if you have a loss in the first trimester with incompetent cervix, it's often not correlated with incompetent cervix. So it's kind of wait and see. And then at I think it was I had an 11-week appointment, 11 or 12 weeks. If you go back and look at my pregnancy updates, they'll be a lot more specific. But we went and my cervix was around a 3.7, which was really, really good news. We met with the cerclage surgeon. I chose to go with the cerclage surgeon that did Bryce's, so I had the same exact surgeon. We met with him and he did suggest waiting and seeing what happened. And we were kind of like, no. My OB doctor, my husband, and I were like, no, we are gonna do the preventative cerclage route. And he was on board with that, but he really was kind of like leaning towards having us wait and see. And so that was around 11 or 12 weeks. It was a struggle getting a scheduled cerclage, and only because like my doctor happened to have a vacation in there, and you know, just his schedule with the varying hospitals he's at with Minneapolis and St. Paul. And so that was stressful. I really felt like, oh my gosh, we need to get this done. I want to get this done as soon as possible, obviously. And I got my cerclage placed around 15 weeks. I would have liked to have it placed around 14, but it was placed around 15 weeks. He did say at that cerclage placement that I was starting to soften. So he said it was a very good choice for us to do a preventative cerclage, or else we would have been in another emergent situation, which I didn't want to be in, because now I'm taking care of a toddler, right? Like with just Bryce, I could lay in bed all day. With with having a toddler and being pregnant, realistically, I was like, ugh, I've still got to be a mom to my toddler, right? And so we got the Cerclage. He got that placed around a 3.5, I believe. And I had weekly checks with my emergent situation. So I knew I'd kind of bounce back a little bit back and forth, guys. I hope that doesn't confuse you. But with my emergency situation, my first pregnancy, I had weekly appointments. With my preventative, I didn't want to do weekly because I felt it would cause more anxiousness. I did 2 every 2 weeks. So I had a check every 2 weeks until week 26, because at that point it's hard to get your cervix measurement abdominally. I always did abdominal cervical lengths. After the Cerclage was placed, my doctors were like, nothing goes up the vajayjay after a Cerclage is placed. Like, you are on pelvic bed rest. So, which leads me to that. So got the preventative Cerclage. It was at a 3 consistently through my pregnancy and no bed rest. I did take it easy, especially that first week or 2 after my Cerclage. My parents watched Bryce. Bryce started at a daycare. Like, I really took it for sure easy. Tried to rest a lot. When Bryce took naps, I laid down and rested. You know, I really tried to listen to my body, and it's hard to listen to your body because you don't trust your body with incompetent cervix. But I was fairly normal through my pregnancy, and especially when I hit like that 32 weeks, I really was normal. I was going to get groceries. Bryce and I were doing play dates together. Like, I really was living a normal pregnancy, and I was having a hard time sharing that on social media because I know so many of you are so scared because you've had losses, and I do not know what that feels like. That makes you so scared to do anything, and that's totally and completely understandable. For me though, like, I really prayed a lot. I gave a lot of my anxiousness to God, I really dug into my faith during this season of my life. And so no bed rest, but pelvic bed rest, obviously. And I think people are shocked at that. Like, that means no sex. That means no sex at all. And you know, like, when you're in the beginning stages of your pregnancy and you're like, no, we're not gonna even do that because I don't want to. If you were to have intercourse and then something happened to the baby, both of you would feel like shit, right? Like, am I sharing that accurately? For those of you who have incompetent cervix, I just want to bring that understanding. Like, this also can take a toll on your, not a toll, but this can also be a factor and something you need to talk about in your relationship. Thankfully, like, my husband totally and completely understood it. Like, he obviously felt the same way I did about that situation. But you are no bed rest with my first pregnancy, but pelvic. So I had pelvic bed rest with both of them. In this pregnancy, I made an intentional choice to choose to be joyful and to be grateful for each day, regardless of what was going to happen. I'm very real, and I know the riskiness of being pregnant with this condition, but I made a choice to choose joy, to choose enjoying life while being pregnant. And I do think that helped a lot. I got my Cerclage removed once again at 35 weeks because this time, because I did feel that pain and pressure, not as much with Jace as I did with Bryce, but because my doctor was going on vacation and she was the one who wanted to remove it. So we removed the Cerclage at 35 weeks, and I was still closed when she checked me. So that was interesting. I was still closed when she checked me at 35 weeks. When I went in for my 36-week appointment, I was dilated to a 3 and also 80%, and I was a little bit effaced. Those details will be in my weekly updates of pregnancy. But I was starting to progress, okay? I had my son Jace at 37 weeks, 5 days, and woke up at 4:15 in the morning to my water breaking. So with Bryce, my first pregnancy, it was back labor at 37 weeks on the dot. With Jace, it was my water breaking. But with incompetent cervix, you make it to your cerclage removal date and you really are considered, if there's no other complications, you know, normal pregnancy. So you don't know what your cervix is going to do. I was talking with other incompetent cervix ladies. Some of them made it to 39 weeks. Some of them made it to over their due date. Some of them made it to 38. I have been at the 37-ish mark with my 2. So it doesn't really, it's really the second trimester from my understanding is getting through that hurdle. And where incompetent cervix impacts pregnancy the most is that second trimester. But those are my 2 different cerclage experiences. Both of them were McDonald Cerclages. Both of them were transvaginal cerclages. And at this point in my life, I do feel Jace was the completion of our family. That we're a team of 4, we're a family of 4, and it feels good. So I don't anticipate any more pregnancies. God could completely be laughing at me right now, but yeah, that's my experience and my story with incompetent cervix. Like I said, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. I would be happy to chat with you on Instagram. That's usually where you can get my fastest answer, guys. And I hope I explained things pretty clearly. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, especially if you like mommy, lifestyle, health and fitness type of things. That's what's going to be upcoming for my channel. This channel started off as health and fitness, me as a single apartment living gal, and now I am a mom of 2. I work from home, and yeah, mom of 2. We'll be sharing that journey. So I hope you guys subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and know that even if you just want me to pray for you and your incompetent cervix journey, leave a comment down below, because I really hope that our story gives hope and faith to those of you who have gone through so much, and know that it is possible. I don't know why God has used our lives to bring the light to this awful condition, but I just want to be a positive story for you guys to cling to know that if this is possible for me, it is possible for you. It is, and I believe that in my heart.